If Boston College wants to improve upon their disastrous 2-10 season, these next 3 weeks are going to be more critical than any other point on the calendar.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day. I'm your host, AJ Black of Eagle Insider, part of the 247 Network. If you're looking for detailed analysis on your Boston College Eagles, you are in the right place. Locked On Boston College is a free daily Boston College podcast available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. On today's show, we're going to look at a huge boost for BC hockey as they get a mid-season enrollment that's going to elevate expectations for the rest of this year. BC football, we've been talking about some names at quarterback, but a new offer makes you wonder, could they be going D2 for this? And would this work? We'll talk about that. And what are some realistic expectations BC after a 2-10 season? What are the needs? Where are things landing right now? We'll get into all of that. But before we do, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. All right, let's kick this off. We've talked about 2-10 to death. One of the worst seasons in BC history. Obviously, a lot went wrong. Not a lot went right for BC as the Eagles, struggled with injuries, with issues on the field, with talent and roster depth. All sorts of things are going on. So what should we be looking at? It's hard to say at this point, but in terms of what 2026 could look like, we know the opponents now. We know BC is going to have a tough schedule. They're going to have to play Miami next year. They're going to have to play Notre Dame. They've got some tough, Florida State's also on there, SMU. They've got a tough schedule. What do they need to do to get this boat going in the right direction? First of all, expectations are going to be dictated how BC looks in the portal. Now, if BC goes out there and mimics what they did last year, which was you got a couple guys from, that O'Brien knew at Alabama, Dylan Larkin and Ty Locke, and then you went out and you grabbed a whole bunch of FCS guys, VJ Wilkins and Favor Latte and Amir Johnson and Anya Nwisi and Chuck Nato. If they follow that pattern, expectations, you got to be a little skeptical that things are going to go in the right direction next year. Now, there's a big difference going into the portal about going after FCS guys. If you look at all the guys they got last year, most of them, VJ Campbell aside, because I think he had some decent games if you look at his record, they didn't have huge stat sheets. They weren't like filling up stat sheets at the FCS level. And that, to me, is a signal, right? Like, if you're bringing an FCS guy in, bring in an FCS guy that was good. The FCS guy that was already standing out at that level. That you're bringing in guys that you're hoping to develop. Development takes time. Look at what happened with Noah Cece and Nato and Amir Johnson. None of those guys really played much of a role. It took Ela Boykin most of the season to do much. So if they're going to go that route, BC has to evaluate differently how they did in the portal last year. And hopefully it's not a money issue. If it's just a money issue, we're in trouble. But if they have the money, they can't spend it on guys like that. We saw what happened this year. Like, this roster needs the depth of guys that can play now. So you need to bring in FCS guys that are established, P5 guys that have played a bit, maybe and fit in well, and do that up and down. And hopefully you can add in some talent in there too and have the money to kind of do that kind of stuff. It can be done here. Do not tell me it cannot be done. I know football's changing. I get it. But it was just 2 years ago, Hafley brought in Jerron Bradley, Jaden McGowan, Ryan Turner. These guys were all on Power 4 programs, and they all contributed. And you brought in guys like Bryce Brown, who played forever, and Kari Johnson. Like, there were lots of guys. You need to follow that model if you want to get that depth back here. And you have money now. You're according to Blake James, you're doing full rev sharing. You should be up there in terms of being able to spend if you can add that in with a little bit of the NIL, pot that you have. So I look at that piece. That's going to really dictate what you're going to be able to do. How much can you impact that defensive line? How much can you impact the linebacker group that has no one left except for young guys? That's going to be a major piece when you're looking at realistic expectations for next year. Because if you go into next year, you lost Bam Crouch at linebacker. Let's just use that position for an example. If you go in next year with a couple guys from FCS schools that played maybe like 120, 130 snaps, and then you got Griffin Collins and Palahe Fahoa. It's a hard sell for me. It is. I'm not bashing those guys. It's just missing that piece that you need. That's what I'm saying. And they have to be able to address that. This is what you brought Kenyatta Watson in for, is a guy that can hopefully flip your roster, get you better. So that's going to be a big piece of how our expectations are going to be ramped up. Of course, quarterback is going to be a big one too. Like, they've got to go out there and they've got to get somebody that can run this offense efficiently. It doesn't need to be obviously like Dylan Raiola, who, according to I was on 3, says he's going to be making $5 million next year. How much is Drake May making? Like, it's crazy. Like, the money they're going to be making. You just need someone to run your offense. Like, think about the end of last year, 2024. Grayson James, he was not a expensive get, and he ran your offense fine for an entire month. So it doesn't matter to me that you get a super splashy guy out there. It'd be nice to get a guy that can be a gamer and a winner. But if you need that money to get offensive line help so that they're not getting killed, look, Grayson James in 2025 versus Grayson James in 2024. What's the big difference? The offensive line was the big difference. So that's a big balance in terms of where this is going to go. They've got a lot of work. So if you're looking and you're trying to figure out where things are going right now, listen, one of the things I hear from all the fans right now, and I want to shout out 247's Colorado site, who said it best. The new system for transfer portals, the way that it's working right now, is brutal for fans. Right now, and I've seen, you guys send me on subtext, I got, messages from friends and things like that. It all seems bad right now because you have 13 players in the portal and nobody coming in. But that's the way it's created right now. These guys aren't even technically in the portal yet because they can't until January 2nd for most of them. BC can't even announce anybody until January 2nd when the portal officially opens. So you're just stuck in this vortex right now where you don't hear anything. So this is what I'm saying is right now, it's almost impossible to tell you what expectations should be for next year because you've seen a chunk of guys leave. You're going to see a bunch of guys graduate, and you'll probably see some fourth guys that have already graduated that aren't going to get a fifth year move on. There's a few that you could probably think of. That's going to happen and open up space. But what they do in this portal, I'm telling you, folks, I think the portal's open for like a week and a half, but BC has to do it and get these kids in by the start of classes. These coaches are going to have to, I hope they like black coffee or Monster Energy drink, because they are going to have to work their tails off during that week, get guys to sign, to commit and sign, because other teams are going to still try to pull them. So that's going to be crazy. And that's why right now, when I see people saying like, oh, BC is going to be 4-8 next year, it's hard to grasp anything right now. Like, this whole roster right now is this, ambiguous mess that you just don't know what's going to happen. I can't even imagine what the coaches are feeling, because like, how are they supposed to evaluate their roster when like you just lost your linebacker, like your star linebacker, your quarterback, who was supposed to be, you were assuming it was going to be your quarterback next year. And and maybe they have plans already. I don't know. But if they don't, excuse me, it's just crazy. So like every year before the portal really hit like this, you could kind of get a gauge of what you would expect from your team. I got to say right now, I have no clue what BC is going to be like next year. No clue. Now, as I said, if they do the portal like they did last year, my expectations are going to be a lot lower. But if Watson comes in and makes a splash, who knows? Again, I don't know. We don't know. We have no clue what is going on right now. And that's the craziest part of all of this. Now, in a moment, one player that they just offered is a D2 player, and we could find more about him because D2 players don't have to wait till the transfer portal to open. I'll tell you who that is. And what are our thoughts on this? I'll get into all of that in just a moment. NFL Sundays move fast, one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is fun when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. I've used this before for the NFL, but this weekend I was using live betting a ton during the college football playoffs. During the Oregon and James Madison game, I was hitting on James Madison, that run they were having, over and over again. It was so much fun. And, you add that on and you do like your traditional plays and then do that on top of it. It's a ton of fun. And then with the NFL, you can do player props as guys heat up. You can bet next touchdown scores. It's so much fun. It's so easy to use. And all you got to do is get on your app and you're there. So if you want to be in the middle of action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. With FanDuel, the games moves fast, and so can you. Thank you for making Locked On Boston College your first listen every day, and thank you for making Locked On your number one sports podcast network. If you haven't already, go check out our new Everydayer Club. I've been using it. Listen, if you are part of the All Access tier, you get text messages from me, Discord, bonus episodes. I'm giving a couple different bonus episodes every week, 10 minutes of some more detailed things that I don't do on the show because I've run out of time. If you want to get on that, you get that. And you get ad-free shows. You get 15% off merch. It is such a great deal. Plus, we have special deals right now where you're going to get a couple months free for the year. It's only $150 for the entire year for the All Access tier, and $50 if you just want to join up. All you have to do is go to lockedonbostoncollege.supercast.com. Again, that's lockedonbostoncollege.supercast.com. I hope you join our Everydayer Club because it is a hoot. I'll see you all there. Talk to you soon. This is Locked On Boston College. AJ Black of Eagle Insider, and I want to talk about a new offer that went out this week. This weekend, you don't hear about offers yet for the Power 4 players because technically that's tampering. So unfortunately for everyone, as I was just saying out there, the interest levels in certain players all has to stay off social media because compliance officers will be all over that. Schools don't want to get in trouble, so they have to keep it on the down low. That being said, that's for Power 4 Division 1 players. So anyone that's been in that level, they have to wait. D2 is different. Now, Saginaw Valley State, which I couldn't even tell you. Let me look that up. AJ, what state is Saginaw State in? I'm going to say Saginaw State is in Minnesota. That's my guess. It is in Michigan. Oh, it's close. All right. I did not look that up because I've read the story. I've posted on it. I just didn't know what state it was in. So many of you probably know that and go, AJ, I know that. But BC offered 6'1" Saginaw State transfer quarterback Mason McKenzie, who is saying that he's probably going to take a visit to BC. He threw for 4,301 yards and 31 touchdowns to 17 interceptions in his SVSU. Sorry, Law and Order on the brain. A very capable runner. He's also rushed for 1,773 yards and 10 touchdowns. Now, here's my thoughts. Film looks good. If you've watched this film, this guy, he's got a lot there. Is he the answer, though? Now, I've talked to you about Deuce Knight. I've talked to you about Jaden Craig and Kenny Minchie from Notre Dame. The quarterback market right now is insane. It is absolutely nuts. We saw Dylan Raiola enter, Rocco Becht from Iowa State. Every day it seems like a new big-time name is entering the portal. it's going to be crazy. And a lot of schools are going to be looking for guys. Like Nebraska just got added in. Like these other schools are going to need quarterbacks. It's going to be tough. But Mason McKenzie, looking at what he could do, it's interesting. Is it the splash quarterback you need? No. But as I said, if this means the BC has money to spend at offensive line, defensive line, linebacker, I'm willing to listen. If they're going to use it for those positions instead of going out and getting a bigger quarterback, fine. No, I'm okay with that. If this is because BC doesn't have any money, this is very worrisome. Now, the one piece I want to say is I'm listening to you guys out there right now, and I've recorded this, but I can hear it right now in my headphones. Oh, D2, this is pathetic, whatever. Northwestern, Nebraska, and Cincinnati are all showing interest in him too. So it's not just a BC thing. There's a lot of good tape on this kid. There's a reason why other Power 4 programs are looking at him. Would I like him as much as some of these other names? No, I would not. But he's interesting, and I'm willing to learn more. I've got an open mind. So I think that is one name I would look at. And, you know, I at the end of the day, I'd love to see BC get someone who has experience. I think that is something that is super important in terms of what they're looking for, what they need in terms of players. So he's one. Automatically got my bat signal going. Auburn. Now, every time portal, I get a text message from someone going, AJ, him, Kenyatta Watson's going to want him. And we already saw Jackson Arnold enter, their quarterback that played most of the season. I said, no, he's not going to come to BC just because I don't think he's a good fit at all. Ashton Daniels is a little bit more of a better fit. Again, he doesn't have a ton of experience. He has good experience. He threw for, but what I've seen in terms of what he can do isn't necessarily the most thrilling thing that I've seen. He is a transfer that came over from Stanford. Do you really want a former Stanford quarterback? Do you remember those offenses? I get a little worried about that. He threw for 2,200 yards in 2023 with 11 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. He can also run. He ran for 148 times a couple of years ago for 679 yards. He doesn't strike me as a quarterback that would fit in Bill O'Brien's system. And I know everyone's going like, why does it have to fit into the system? I'm just telling you what I think he's going to look for. So I still think that other quarterback that hasn't entered the portal, Deuce Knight, is the name I'll be watching for. I feel like that might be the guy if they're going to go for an Auburn guy. But I had to mention Ashton Daniels too. So this is going to be crazy. Like, we're going to Sorry, technical difficulty there for a moment. I'm also wondering, are there other names that are going to pop up when the portal actually opens? Like, things are quiet, who will actually show up? Because it's going to be quiet for a while. But we'll hear rumblings, and I have it here. And for my everydayers, Club All Access, when I start to get some nuggets, I'm going to throw them your way too. Just like I do from message board people over at Eagle Insider and the people that subscribe over there. So thank you all. In a moment, let's get into hockey talk. I've been so excited to get into some hockey talk as BC lands a major midseason acquisition, one that could really change the outcome of the season. I'll explain what I mean by that in just a moment. There's nothing like college football season, the tailgates, packed stadiums, being right there in the middle of it all. The energy, the bands, the moments you remember forever. But actually getting tickets, that's part used to be frustrating with long queues, logins, and prices jumping at checkout. That's why Game Time gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to unlock amazing college football tickets and experiences in just a few taps. The app is incredibly easy to use. I went from browsing to buying tickets in just minutes. Like I went to a Woo Sox game this summer, and I was desperately in need of tickets last minute. I went to the app. It literally took me 5 minutes to find tickets, order them, and boom, I had browsed a few, found what I wanted, talked to my wife, and I was there. Knowing prices, including all fees up front, make the whole process a lot easier. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, it's code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Locked On Boston College, AJ Black here, wrapping up. And I want to shout out my everydayers, all of you who make Locked On Boston College part of your everyday experience, where you're listening in the gym, on your way to work, or, going on a walk. Thank you so much. We're wrapping up another season of football, and I appreciate each and every one of you who have made us part of your daily routine. Now, hockey. Hockey's been pretty good so far this season. I'm not the most diehard hockey follower, so, when it comes to the X's and O's, that's not my style, but I love watching hockey. And I was so excited to hear that Boston College landed a major midseason acquisition with the addition of Oscar Hemming, a 2008 forward out of Vasa, Finland, who is projected. They got the 31st pick, projected 31st pick, first round pick in the upcoming NHL draft. Adding this kind of talent when you needed, a big forward like this was a big, big deal. This guy, BC right now is 10-5, and Hemmings has not played much this season, but in 2024-2025, when he played for Kike Espoo, he combined for 73 points with 37 goals, including 9 playoff points, and this is an incredible get for BC. Like, I love the outlook of this roster, the way things were looking. I thought, they're scrappy, they're playing tough, but adding a top forward onto that, like, that's a game changer. That's going to put you right up there to battle the BUs who look really good and get you ready for potentially a frozen, appearance. When your goalie with Cloutier is playing well, and you've obviously had some good success with your frontline talent with Hagen and things like that, but adding Hemmings and getting him on there was huge. And right now the hockey team is, they're off, and the World Junior Classic is happening. So there's, Greg Brown's coaching. There's a couple players in that. Tomorrow, I know you guys are all super excited. The basketball returns as they play a bye game against Fairleigh Dickinson. Bye games are always fun, right? But they're going to have to try to figure things out and get things back on, because they've been off since that horrible UMass loss. And that's, where we stand before Christmas break. And then, as I said, January 6th, strap in, folks, because that's going to be absolutely nuts. I'm going to be doing lots of live shows when big names enter and sign with BC. We'll get into all of that. It's going to be crazy. Thank you all for listening. You can follow me on Twitter at AJBlack247. You can check me out on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, on Blue Sky and Threads. You name a social network, I'm on it. Well, most of them I'm on it, but these are the ones you want to check me out on. So make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons, and I'll see you all again soon for another episode of Locked On Boston College, your team every day.